So, hello and welcome to this podcast or walkthrough of my deep learning project, where I'm trying to predict stock prices based on events and then based on the last 7 days change in the closing price. If we have, yeah, well, how does that sound?
It sounds great.
Okay, great. So are you buckled up here? Because I'm going to walk you through a little presentation here of my project, and I'll be showing you how we actually can use it as one of the first things, and then I'll be looking into how I collected the data, how we pre-process the data, and how we statistically analyze the data, and we also will look into the model building and the model interpretation, model evaluation. So what I just said is just written here. Inference, collection, pre-processing, statistical analysis, model building, interpretation, evaluation. So buckle up.
That sounds like a solid plan. I'm ready to dive in and hear all about it. Let's get started.
Okay, and you may feel free to fill in some gaps where my knowledge is shallow. And so just do your best and ask some questions for me. If you have any questions, just don't hesitate.
Absolutely. I'll be here to help and ask questions if needed. Let's dive right in.
Okay, so let's just take a quick glance on what this can do. So I have already performed the trading, gathered the data, so let's try to run the model here. I'll just hit my play button here.
Sounds good. Let's see how it performs.
And just a little secret, I used Yahoo Finance as my stock data for the 7-day gap, for the 7 days here. I used Wikipedia. So here we have Wikipedia to get all the S&P 500s. I got a function for calculating the top performance of the close versus open, and then divided that with the open price, and then for the last 7 days, and then it, based on the list from Wikipedia, it takes all the top performers, and then it sorts it based on the top performers, and then it goes with the latest news from Bloomberg RSS feed, and then it will use the model to predict predict the positive, if the headlines are positive based on the trends in the last 7 days. So as we see here, we are taking some time here, so it's finding some symbols here which are not listed, or I cannot match to the Yahoo Finance. So could you fill in some questions perhaps here?
Sure. It sounds like you've got a solid data pipeline going. One question. How do you handle cases where there might be discrepancies or mismatches between the stock symbols from Yahoo Finance and the news data from Bloomberg?
Well, I currently I didn't think of that, so that's a very great question, and that's perhaps something we could elaborate in another iteration here. So how would you handle that?
One approach could be to implement a symbol mapping or validation step. This would ensure the symbols from different sources match correctly. You could also include a check to handle unmatched symbols, possibly logging them for further analysis.
Well, that sounds great. So let's move on here. We just got the results in best Morris style. The results are in, and then we see here fetching Bloomberg news headlines, and we get some stock picks here. So let's just try to analyze here. We have some positive impact, negative impact here. So let's just take the first here, PNC, and let's try to go to the stock app here. And then let's just try to glimpse if we are hitting here PNC final. So what are they? They are a financial service group, and they have an earnings call here 3 hours ago and some beat estimates here. So that and we received the positive. So I will say that it correctly identifies somehow a news headline that could have my shallow learning. How would you say that, ChatGPT? How would you interpret? How does this correlate if you were to act and speak like Warren Buffett?
In Warren Buffett style, one might say, Positive earnings and beating estimates are typically good indicators of a company's strong performance. It's essential to consider the broader context and the company's fundamentals before making any investment decisions. It's all about the long-term value.
Okay, well, great to hear that. So that's some good perspectives here. So let's just try to look somebody who got a negative impact. So SCAG here. And let's just quick here. So what should we look for in a negative impact, ChatGPT?
We typically look for factors like disappointing earnings, negative news, or broader market trends affecting the company. These can provide insights into why there's a negative sentiment.
Okay, so here we see something about this is a energy company, and they have something about nuclear stocks searched. So perhaps they are into nuclear energy. New York joins Constellation in pursuit of Energy Department funding for advanced nuclear reactor. Inside push to restart 3 mil. Okay, I'm not sure, but they are going upwards. But perhaps that could have that would, I don't know how could we interpret that the graph here from the last 3 months is going up. The 1 day last day. So if you should give a quick glance into a fast growing stock here, as we see in the 3 months compared to the last one we looked at.
For a fast-growing stock, the recent upward trend could indicate positive developments or market confidence. However, a slight dip in the last day might suggest short-term volatility or profit-taking. It's essential to look at both the broader trend and any underlying news or factors.
Okay, thank you for that. So, how would you interpret, given the results of the positive and the negative stocks, how would you interpret this if you were to look from a more professional perspective and compare to that?
From a professional perspective, I'd analyze the positive and negative impacts by examining the underlying causes, like earnings reports, market conditions, or industry trends. Positive impacts might signal strong performance or favorable news, while negative ones could indicate challenges or concerns. It's crucial to consider both short-term fluctuations and long-term potential.
Okay, so let's move on to the more technical part of it. So let's just look at here at the collection of the data. So now we're moving the scope back. We saw here that we were able to take some real-time real event data we were able to process, and we were able to get some I would assume reasonable output, and we also get some percentages here from the model here. And then we give it a threshold here. So if it's below 1.5, so that's our output of this model. and I want you to just have this in mind, that we are looking for percentages, and the way we could be more detailed in this interpretation of the data perhaps, but we are focused here. We are here to talk about the deep learning model.
Got it. The focus is on refining the deep learning model's interpretation of the data. Enhancing the granularity of the output can definitely provide more actionable insights. Let's dive into the model details.
So thank you for that. And then let's just go into the data. So here we have some data. We got the full history. We have some NASDAQ data here. So what did that mean? So that means that we had to collect this data, and in order to train our model, and that data we could have gotten from sources, but that will take a lot of time to process and get that. We could also go to Yahoo Finance, but somebody did this already, and so we found this I found this Hugging Face link, and this led us to the zip files, which are enormous. I think 12 gigabytes somehow. So it took some time to download, and also take some time later on to process the data. So after successfully downloading this, we had to load it into a CSV file, and I also decided to use the pickle. The pickle is an import that can save the data, so it's like store the data that we collect and we always process, so we can pick it up later and then unpickle it to continue our discovery or the data manipulation. and it also can pickle a model. So it's useful library here. And we store this data, and we get some stocks data. We get some from the full zip history of stocks, and we get some. So here we can see here that we have in this code here we have unzipped the full history. We have, and then we put it into a data frame here, and then we get something out here that's more or less shows us a date and different columns. We'll inspect that later on, but here we'll also load the news data, and then we'll ensure that just take a quick glance at the data quality to know what we are going to do in the pre-processing. So, and checking what have we actually packaged here. So we see some date, we see a volume, we see open, high, low, close, adjacent, close here, and we see some missing values. That's a problem, but we're going to handle that. We also see some, so that's more like a statistics here, the data, and here's the, we also have a shape here. So how many columns? We have 8 columns, and we have like all these rows, over 100,000 million rows. Is it a million rows? I don't know, but yeah, 2 million. Okay, but and then we also have the other object here. The news data. And the news data consists of the headline. And here it doesn't mention, but there's also a published date. So, but somehow it's just singled out to that. We'll go into that later here. We collect the data, and we save it into a collected data pickle here, and so we can unravel it, load it here in our pre-processing steps. So, moving on from collection, we go to pre-processing, and pre-processing is also important in terms of getting the right kind of data to train our model based on, like, it's not enough to have an idea and have some data, but we also have to process the data so it can fit nicely into the model, and we can we ensure that it's polished in data science terms, so it's easier to handle, if we could say so. But and how do we do that? Well, we use some different libraries. We use some NLP libraries. We use some machine learning libraries. We use some deep learning utilities, which is optional, could be used. I'm not sure if we use it here, and then we load the data into our new notebook here. So the notebook will have we'll open the data, we'll open the stock data, we'll open the news data, and then we'll see here, we just have a quick glance here, so get an overview of here. In this way, when we check the data quality, we will understand how we can proceed. It gives us a good glimpse of where some pains are, and some pains here we see the missing data values. Well, we need. So imagine a picture where the picture is in some parts unfinished or lacks coherence with everything, and that disturbs. We should also interpret this way. The machine learning model will look. It will try to understand the data and try to use the data to learn from. We will need to handle those cases so they are not empty boxes. So it see a full picture that is nicely, and it can see that we need to ensure that it gets a nice picture. So in order to do that, we have some different kind of tools to fill out the gaps. Like if you were a painter, somehow you will like go in, and then you will have or you have to restore a picture. So then you will have some different kind of specialized tools and things. So that's more or less what you do here. So we identify some missing values here. That's something we can handle. And we also identify some objects types here, so that can be turned into some more specific data types. Data here we see mostly, and we also see something about the news data. And the news data, it does not miss anything, so it has everything in place. And we also need to adjust the date time here. So it actually was adjusted. Yeah, and it has this published date here, as you see. So let's go into the data cleaning steps. So data cleaning, what is just cleaning out the data here, so ensure that we have some nice data that that has the right types, that is easy to be interpreted by the machine learning model, or the more appropriate types. And we don't have some columns that are not giving us anything, so that could disturb the model of interpreting the data and giving some nice predictions. So yeah, and we go through the data set and we get we ensure that everything is correct. So when we did that, we came out with a result where we had no missing values. That's good. And we also had we had to change the date time here. And so as we see here, we changed that to date. So ensure that. And we also handle missing values. And we also to taking the mean. So we went in and then we took the mean. We calculated the mean of all the values in each column, and then we filled out the missing values, the 257. So ChatGPT, just give me a quick tip or something that the audience could like. Something audience pleasing, please.
Sure. When working on data preprocessing, remember that cleaning your data thoroughly is like setting a strong foundation for a house. It ensures your model has the best chance to learn effectively and produce accurate results. Keep your data tidy and your model will thank you.
Thank you for that note. So we try to do that, and to build a good house, to build a house that can do what we want and have a good accuracy. We'll get into that later. So yeah. So what do you think other things we need to include here, ChatGPT?
You might consider feature engineering to enhance your model and thorough cross-validation to ensure robustness. Also, monitoring for data drift can help maintain accuracy over time.
That sounds great. That's some good points, at least to my ear. Something that I need to experience more, I think, as we deep dive into this. So let's see here. We had some published date here, and we went some cleaning here. So we merge we take the two different parts here, and then we also, in the pre-processing steps, we merge the stock data with the news data, because it has to be a collective data set that we will feed into the model here. And we will so that's what we do here. So we get a nice clean headline here: adjacent close, low, high, open value. We have no missing data here. So and they are merged on the date. So that's important. We have the date intact, so we can get one single date where everything is matching. So that's our like, if you're our key to the other model, or something that we can, the relation between these two that enables us. Without the date, without the exact date, I think we will not get very good predictions. So moving on, we will now, this were perhaps some more basic parts that so now we will move into some more advanced part where we'll use some external libraries more, and where you will have where we will just see where we will use those to process the data here. So first of all, we have something called Vader, and Vader is looking for sentiments, and it's as least of my knowledge. Could you elaborate on that, ChatGPT? Could you please explain the audience in a nice pictorial way what does Vader do?
Certainly. Vader is a sentiment analysis tool designed to determine the emotional tone behind text data. It's particularly good at analyzing social media or short informal text. Imagine it as a tool that can read a sentence and tell you if it's positive, negative, or neutral, like a sentiment detective.
Okay, thank you for that. So we have added the Vader here, and then we have applied it here to get a sentiment, and then we move it into our merge data. And
And by applying Vader, you're able to quantify the sentiment of news headlines, which helps in understanding how the market might react. It's a great step to enrich your data for the model.
And here, so let's move on to a point you mentioned before, ChatGPT, but we have future engineering, and future engineering is also a crucial part of machine learning. And so what we do is we add daily returns and a binary target for next day movement. So so it will add the daily returns from the data set, and then it will give us as 1 or 0 for the next day movement. So it will plus or minus. So it will in that way it will try to so it'll not be so specific on that, but it will give if it's a positive or negative. But we have so many data, so we will on that note it will be giving us in the final end in the way we output the numbers here, we will get a more percentage, a more a decimal number, a parametric number with the true zero, as at least I remember. Okay, so could you please, ChatGPT? So we have something here. We take the merged data, we sort them by date, and then we take the return on the return column, stock return, and then we take the close, and then we take the percentage change between those, and then we say the return is the close percentage change, and then we ensure that we don't have any null values, and then we because we add a return